Hi everyone. In our franchise overview, today we're going to take a look at a 3D platform that has now spanned 19 different games across multiple generations and multiple different platforms, and is definitely recognized as an icon on 3D platforms. And we're talking about none other than our friend Crash Bandicoot. So Crash Bandicoot started out in the PlayStation 1, and it all started with this one. And it was an immediate success because of its 3D platforming elements, which were kind of new and innovative for the time, plus because of its comedic references inside the game. You gotta love when your main villain is called Dr. Neo Cortex. Crash Bandicoot's one success led on to several follow-ups straight into the PlayStation 1 platform. We had Crash Bandicoot 2, and here we have the US version and the Japanese version. You can see the big differences in the artwork and presentation of the games. Then we had Crash 3. And Crash 3 in the US was called Crash Bandicoot Warp. In Europe and Japan it was called Crash Bandicoot 3. This game now started to branch out and had crash adventuring and a bunch of new innovative styles, flying planes, on water, carts, and then the standard platforming. Then we had a specialized karting game, and it was the first dedicated kart game in the Crash universe, where, like other karting games, you're competing against other Crash characters, and you have little items that give you power-ups that make it competitive with other players. And last releasing in the PlayStation 1 was Crash Bash, and this was a collection of mini games that you get to compete with your friends and other computer or the computer itself in challenges. Overall, there were 5 games released on the PlayStation 1, which is pretty amazing for a franchise to have so many games in one platform generation. This was then also released as a compilation and as a collector's edition, and it had some slight variations. Really, the biggest thing is that I identified it was a collector's edition, but it was still the same games that were originally released on the PlayStation 1. Following the PlayStation 1 success, then it branched out into the next generation, which was the GameCube, Xbox, and the PlayStation 2 with the Wrath of Cortex. And here we started expanding Crash's adventure, further exploring these machines' capabilities with additional open 3D environments. But it was still same mechanics, same comedic stance, and quite fun. The first mobile debut of Crash Bandicoot was Crash Huge Adventure on the Game Boy Advance, and followed up with Crash and Traced, also for the Game Boy Advance. The next racing game in the Crash universe was Crash Nitro Kart, and it kept on further expanding, adding new tracks and additional powers capabilities, and this one was called Crash Nitro Kart, and it debuted on 4 platforms: original Xbox, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, and PlayStation 2. Another fun game, very competitive. I've had lots of fun with friends in this one. We had a compilation game on the Xbox featuring 2 of the Crash volumes in one, with a bunch of other Game Boy Advance releases. First one was Crash Purple, and then 2 super packs. One, a Crash Super Pack, which combined a couple of Game Boy Advance games into one cartridge, and the other one a compilation between Crash and Spyro as a super pack with a game of each one of those franchises in one cart. The next release, Crash to Insanity, explored the comedy side of Crash even further with some really off-the-wall stuff. And this one was only released in 2 platforms. This one skipped the GameCube console. Crash to Insanity. And you can see the back art, I think, illustrates a little bit of the comedic components that they were going after and enhancing the game with. Then came another iteration of their racing game with Crash Tag Team Racing. And this one came out in 3 different platforms: Xbox, GameCube, and PlayStation 2. We had another compilation set in the PlayStation 2 with 3 of the different games. And debuting on the Nintendo DS came Crash Boom Bang. This was another game which was really another set of mini games. So you could do races, soccer challenges, fly planes, kayaking, a bunch of different mini games to play and have fun, and exploring some of the DS's capabilities with the pen and the stylus. Next in the franchise, they expanded some of the gameplay mechanics in Crash of the Titans. And this one came out in 5 different platforms, highlighting again the popularity of the Crash franchise. Pretty much every system that was active at that time had this game. In this game, Crash of the Titans, there were 15 different enemies that you could go and hijack. And basically you would control these enemies, you would mount them, and wield their powers or their strengths against to go through the levels. This one came out on a bunch of different platforms: the Xbox 360, Wii, PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, and the Game Boy Advance. In Crash Mind Over Mutant, they kept on further expanding the whole concept of controlling other animals and beasts and yielding their powers. And it just was almost felt like a sequel in essence of the Crash of Titans as far as the gameplay mode. And you had PlayStation 2, Wii, Xbox 360, and Nintendo DS versions of the same game. This next one is a bit not too popular, not very well known, but Crash also came out on the N-Gage system. The N-Gage, for those that are not familiar, was a cell phone system by Nokia, which was branded as a gaming cell phone, and you could put little cartridge inside the cell phone to play it. And they released Crash Nitro Kart on the system. Now we're getting to more modern age consoles, and we were graced with Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. And this featured the three original games that had come out on the PlayStation 1 as remastered versions, which is pretty cool because it let people relive those experiences and modernize a bit some of the gameplay to be able to yield it with the current gens or newer gens. It also featured a couple new levels added to the game, and it came out on the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. Next, they came out with another Crash Team Racing game, this one called Nitro Fueled. And This one was now a modernized version of the karting game, with coming out on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And again, it incorporates all the modern console capabilities, online play, etc. Really fun game. Really fun game. And last and latest on the franchise that we've been graced with has now been a direct sequel to the original branch of Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, 3. They've gone into Crash Bandicoot 4. And this one's come out on 3 different consoles: the Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. Haven't tried this one yet. It's definitely on my playlist. Curious to go and experience the reimagined version of Crash against these new consoles. Definitely, this franchise is really fun franchise because of all the comedic elements that it carries, and some of the dynamics in the gameplay. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you all have experienced them. If you could please share some of your thoughts on the Crash games, and share what is your favorite Crash game if you've played through them. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.